All right, so here's a few news links. You might want to check this out. We've all heard that MGM got hacked, and for those of us that go to Vegas a lot, I go there all the time for DEF CON, get used to this, and this guy went there just to see what happened. There's a massive hack, and he describes it. It's really quite interesting. Customers are still using the casinos and gambling and buying food and stuff, but most of the payment terminals are down. They have to buy with only one guy with a working credit card machine. A lot of about half of the slot machines don't work. A bunch of the projectors don't work. And he said the main thing is that it's not affecting the customers much, but it's greatly affecting the workers who are all running around doing things manually that ought to be electronic. So it's interesting to see what's going on with an ongoing ransomware attack. MGM hasn't paid. Earlier, Caesars got hacked, and they asked for $30 million, and they paid $15 million. And these guys say MGM just needs to pay to get our systems back up. So, ransomware is a big problem. And as I was talking about a couple of days ago on Pulse Security Weekly, a ransomware expert said nothing's going to stop ransomware. It's just going to keep growing. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. And that's related to another article. Let me see if this is the one. See, your number one defense against ransomware is multi-factor authentication. And privileged access management is good too. But this is what these guys check, and they point out, in fact, these implementations are almost always inadequate and useless. Because the question is, in your multi-factor authentication, do you really use it on everything? Consider all these things: your desktop logins, your VPN, your remote desktop protocol, your command line access SSH, your legacy apps, your virtual desktop infrastructure, VMware, Citrix, shared network drive, operational technology systems that manage your hardware, not to mention all the machine accounts, which are for automated services, which are often how hackers come in, because those things tend to have high privileges and people don't tend to audit them or monitor them, and they tend to never change the password. So, two-factor authentication would protect you if you really applied it to everything, but almost nobody is doing that. And they say privileged access management that tries to prevent people from escalating up to administrator is all I know about it. Apparently, a bit more to it, but he said only 10% of organizations have it working. So here's the service account. 78% of organizations can't prevent malicious access with compromised service account. So this is what the expert was saying. He was saying there are so many holes in corporate networks. The ransomware people always come in through a simple security 101 problem: a default password, an open listening service, something that hasn't been patched. They don't use complicated 0 days or anything. Almost everybody has a hole of some kind they get in, and then it spreads.
Why do companies use virtual machines?
Oh, well, your servers are usually running on virtual machines. That's the main reason I know. All your servers are virtual machines, like you're running on like Proxmox or ESXi. But I think they use them the same way we all do to run for testing and software development and stuff.
That shouldn't be that popular, right?
Oh, I think they probably are. I mean, I don't know exactly in a big corporation, but I think for the same reason I do, because you like working on a Mac, and when you need Windows, you just spin up a virtual machine. I bet a lot of people are using it, just like we do. So you don't have to carry around a lot of different hardware, if you work on multiple operating systems. And if you might have them local, or you might have them in the cloud, and everything in the cloud is a virtual machine, every Azure instance and everything. And that's often the weak spot: the credentials to your Azure. In fact, that's another article here. This garbage. Yes, I remember this. Stupid NBC News cannot display an Opera. They think I'm using an ad blocker, which I'm not, because they are idiots. Anyway, that's not the article I wanted anyway, but I wouldn't let me see the... Yeah, this is what happened right here. So Microsoft's AI researchers, they wanted to share a file as part of a report. And so they had a system where the file was stored on Azure, and they were able to add like a key to the URL. Now, you can do this on Dropbox, right? You can share a file, and then it puts some kind of key in the URL that shares just that one file. So they tried to do that at an Azure storage location. there was a credential which logged you into a certain account there, but what they did was they accidentally used an account in the sharing URL that granted full permission to the entire storage account to anybody to click that URL. So if you just clicked it and downloaded the one file, everything would be fine, but these penetration testers were smart enough to notice, the Microsoft researchers, or somebody, whoever found this, was smart enough to realize what it meant, and they went and found you could dump everything off there. In fact, you could have write permissions, and it had been that way since 2020. So for years, people could download all this data. Now they fixed it, but that just shows the kind of thing I'm saying, how cloud servers are often the source of these weak spots because of things like that. This is the most common problem I hear, is that the high privilege cloud service administration accounts are not really locked down, and they give too much privileges, and people are able to rampage through the cloud infrastructure. Now I see some questions coming up here. Ionis is the most popular web hosting. Oh, I don't know how popular it is. Both the casino attacks were socially engineered. Yes, I read that the way they got in, I think MGM was by just calling the help desk. In a 10-minute phone call, they managed to talk them into doing something that let them in, giving them a password or running software or something. Dockers aren't as secure as VMs. That is what people say. Docker instances, containers, are considered less secure than VMs. They are less isolated from the host. And there are some known escape attacks, although they patch it. But yeah, in general, Dockers are not considered as secure as virtual machines. Good, these are good questions. See if any more of these are worth mentioning. I didn't know this until I heard it on a podcast. Tesla's stock just went up by a lot because of the Dojo supercomputer. And if I've heard about this, I'd forgotten. They have built a supercomputer at Tesla for the purpose of training the AI model, and they've claimed that the next version of full self-driving is going to be an AI. The current one, apparently, is normal code with a lot of if-then statements, and they want to replace all of it with just an AI, and they built a supercomputer to train that super AI, and people are saying that they would, at least I heard on the Prof G podcast, Prof G Markets, that once they have that, they could lease it out to any other company that wants to train any vision model once they've got it. So it'll be a really big asset, and it's such a big asset, it caused Tesla's price to go up, stock price, because people think that's a really valuable thing. It sounds a little bit like Amazon. You know, Amazon originally just sold products, and then they started leasing out server space and made Amazon Web Services, which turned out to be a huge business. So if Tesla starts leasing out supercomputer time, that may turn out to be a very valuable business. So anyway, that's all the news I wanted to mention. Let me stop that. We're up